In this video we're going to show you how to set up a panelized circuit board. As you can see here, this is one single circuit board, but it has many single circuit boards inside of it. If you look carefully on X direction, there's 5 small PCBs, and on Y direction there's 10 of them. Here you can see the first one. For the first one, we just set up 4 parts, C1, C2, C3, and C4. Okay, let's do a small run of those 4 parts. But you can see here, those are the first 4 parts. You have your X, your Y, your Z. In this case, we're using feeder number 7. As you can see here, we have the fiducial preset. We have the pictures and the coordinates. Okay, so let's minimize the part list. We'll show you a single circuit board placement. We'll go to place run. We'll go to non-stop. Okay, it does the fiducials, second fiducials. Now it's going to do the one single board. This is the first one. It only has 4 parts. Very simple. As you can see here, we place the 4 components: C1, C2, C3, C4. For this video, we're doing it without the uplink camera. We're only teaching you guys how to do the penalize. Okay. So now we're going to show you how to set up the complete penalized PCB. We'll take these parts off. Okay. Alright, so let's open the part list. Here in the part list, you can see it says panel, and it's this little section here. See that? That's a panelized section. So the first step is we gotta figure out how many panels are on X, how many on Y. As I mentioned earlier, for X direction there's 5 small PCBs. For Y there's 10 of them, 10 small PCBs. Okay, so now we can input for X would be 5, but it should be only 5. Yeah, and then on Y it should be 10. Put 10. Okay, so now the important part is to figure out the distance for X and Y. So what we do is we choose part number 1. So we'll select part number 1. We'll send the machine go to part. The machine goes to the first component, as you can see here. The first component is C1. Okay, now we need to figure out the distance between C1 on the first PCB and the distance of C1 to the second. Actually, that'll be the Y distance because it travels this way. And we also need to figure out the X distance, the C1 from here to the X section. So let's do that first. We can select 2000. We'll move it on the X first. So that's 3. We want to use C1, which is the one next to it. Once you figure out the distance, we're going to input that under part list. Under part list, the X distance that we figured out was 2,000 steps. Actually, it was 2,500. 2,500 steps. That's the distance from C1 on X to C1 on the next one on X. Okay, now we have to figure out the Y distance. So we'll do the same thing. This is C1, and we have to figure out the distance from here, C1 to C1 on Y. So let's figure out the distance. We'll put 1,000 steps. Okay, so now that And you can figure out the distance here. You can always see where the machine is currently at, X and Y. And then you can figure out the when it was here and how much did it take for you to move it here. So we'll go to part list. Under Y distance, let's enter that number that we figured out. For this one, it was a positive number. It was 1247. On X, it was a negative number. It was negative 2500. Okay? So now the second portion is you don't do anything here. This is the current placement. It's at the first one, which is 0, 0. This is going to increase automatically depending on what panel it's currently on. For here, this you want to select auto increments, and then we want to do the whole panel. The whole panel means that it's going to place all 4 components at once and then move on to the next panel. The fiducial for each panel is very important. We'll click on that. We'll check it out. That means it's going to check fiducials. It's going to place the 4 parts, and then it's going to check fiducials for the next one and 4 parts, and so on. Skip PCB is in case you have, let's say you want to skip any one of these. You can input that number in skip PCB. Okay, so now that we're ready to test it, we'll save it, and then we can close it. Okay, now we can go to place run, and it's the same. It's only 4 parts and it's non-stop, so we can try it. So checking fiducials for the first panel. It passes fiducials, picks up 2 parts, and then the next 2 parts. Now it's finished with the first PCB. It's moving on to the next one. Checking for fiducials, picking up the 2 parts. Okay, the second PCB is now done. Now it's checking fiducials on the second one, or the third. This is number 3. It's all on X. Okay, we're at number 4. Checking fiducials. Okay, first 2, second 2. Now it's checking fiducials for the last PCB on X direction, number 5. The first 2 parts, the next 2 parts. Now it's going to check fiducials on Y. This is the first Y. Alright, fiducials are passed. Placing 2, placing 2. The machine's just going to keep going until it finishes a complete penalized circuit board. And this is how you set up a penalized circuit board.